My own family tried to break me, but they didn't expect me to fight back. Get out. Paying bills doesn't make you family. The words exploded across our Thanksgiving table, silencing everyone. The mashed potatoes I'd made from scratch sat untouched. The expensive wine I'd brought was half empty. My father's face twisted with rage while my mother stared at her lap, avoiding eye contact. The turkey was getting cold between us, just like my heart. I'd spent years financing their lifestyle, but in that moment, as cranberry sauce congealed on fancy plates I'd paid for, I realized family was never about blood or money. It was about respect. I'm Hannah, 29, a software developer who started my own consulting business 3 years ago after putting myself through college. That day changed everything. Not just for me, but for everyone sitting at that table. If you've ever been underestimated or betrayed by family, subscribe right now and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Your story deserves to be heard, and trust me, what happened next in mine will show you exactly why standing up for yourself isn't selfish, it's survival. Growing up, we never had much. Dad worked construction until his back gave out. Mom picked up retail shifts when she could. My brother Jake was the golden child, athletic, charming, always promising big things that never materialized. I was the quiet one with the laptop, the girl who stayed up coding while everyone else slept. I promised myself I'd break the cycle, working through college, launching my business, and finally achieving financial stability. When my family hit hard times 3 years ago, I stepped in without hesitation. Their mortgage, utilities, car payments, even Jake's student loans, I covered it all. Every month, thousands disappeared from my account into theirs, all while they treated me like the family disappointment. Thanksgiving Day started like any family gathering. I arrived at 10 a.m., arms loaded with grocery bags, organic turkey, fresh vegetables, artisan bread, a bottle of $80 Cabernet. Mom hugged me briefly before rushing back to her phone game. Dad nodded from his recliner, football game blaring. Need help with dinner? I asked, already knowing the answer. You know I like doing it my way, Mom said, though she hadn't started anything beyond defrosting the turkey I'd brought. I rolled up my sleeves anyway, peeling potatoes at the sink while listening to the familiar creaks of the house I was secretly paying for. The smell of butter melting in cast iron, the soft thud of my knife against the cutting board. These simple sounds used to mean home. Now they just reminded me of all I gave and how little I got back. Jake strolled in at 2 p.m., empty-handed except for his phone. Dad's face lit up like Christmas. There's my boy, he called, muting the TV. Mom emerged from wherever she'd been hiding, arms wide for a hug Jake barely returned. Sorry I'm late, he mumbled, though he wasn't sorry at all. Traffic. No problem, sweetie, Mom cooed. Hannah's been helping cook. Jake nodded at me like I was a distant acquaintance rather than the sister who paid his car insurance. I forced a smile and kept mashing potatoes. Dinner started at 4. Dad carved the turkey I'd paid for while praising Jake's form on the high school football field 10 years ago. Mom asked Jake about his recent job interview, his 5th this year, while barely acknowledging my recent contract with a major tech company. They really seemed interested, Jake said, mouth full of food I'd prepared. Probably gonna offer me management track. That's wonderful. Mom squeezed his hand. See? Good things come to those who wait. I took a sip of wine to hide my expression. Jake had been waiting for 3 years while I bankrolled his life. How about you, Hannah? Dad asked, more afterthought than interest. Still doing that computer stuff? Actually, I just landed a contract with Aerotech. It could double my business. That's nice, Mom said, already turning back to Jake. Tell us more about this job, honey. I pushed food around my plate, the turkey suddenly dry in my mouth. 3 years of monthly transfers, of emergency calls for just until next month loans, of co-signing for a brother who never paid his share. 3 years of being their safety net while they treated me like an ATM with inconvenient feelings. The conversation drifted to holiday plans, to Jake's potential girlfriend, to Dad's golf buddies. I sat silently until the weight of unspoken words felt like it might crack my ribs. I need to scale back the financial support, I said during a rare quiet moment. Just temporarily, I need to invest in my company's growth. The table went silent. Dad's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. Mom's smile froze. Jake glared. What do you mean? Dad asked, his voice dangerously low. I've paid over $9,600 in your bills just this quarter, I replied, trying to keep my voice calm. I need to hire developers, expand my office space. It's just for a few months. Dad's face darkened like storm clouds gathering. You've changed, he said, jabbing his fork toward me. Success has made you selfish. The words sliced through me. Selfish. After everything I'd given. I'm not being selfish, I said. I'm being practical. My business needs... Your business? Dad's voice rose. What about your family? We raised you, put clothes on your back, food in your mouth. I know that, and I'm grateful. But, get out. Paying bills doesn't make you family. Dad suddenly exploded, standing up and pointing at the door. The table shook, water glasses spilling. Mom flinched but said nothing. Then she leaned in, whispering just loud enough for me to hear, "You're just jealous of your brother." Something cold and hard crystallized in my chest. I smiled sadly, gathering my purse from the back of my chair. "Then let him pay the $9,600, I said quietly, and walked out. The cold November air hit my face as I stepped onto the porch, shaking from adrenaline. Behind me, I could hear Jake's voice. Drama queen, always has to make everything about her. My phone buzzed in my pocket before I even reached my car. A text from Jake. "Way to ruin Thanksgiving, princess." I sat in my car, hands gripping the steering wheel, watching the house I'd saved from foreclosure 2 years ago. The windows glowed warm yellow against the darkening sky. Inside, they were probably already rewriting history, painting me as the villain. That's when I made a decision that would change everything. The drive home passed in a blur. Christmas lights twinkled from early decorator houses. Families walked dogs together, laughing. Meanwhile, my phone exploded with notifications. Arriving home to my empty apartment, I kicked off my heels and checked my phone. 17 missed calls from Mom. I played the voicemails, listening to her tone shift from anger to panic with each message. "How could you embarrass us like that?" To 5:15 p.m. "Your father didn't mean it. You know how he gets." 5:47 p.m. "Please call us back. We need to talk about this." 6:23 p.m. "Hannah, how will we pay the mortgage without you?" 7:01 p.m. I poured myself a glass of wine, cheaper than what I'd brought to dinner but somehow tasting better. The apartment was quiet except for the hum of my refrigerator and the occasional car passing outside. No judgment here, no expectations. My phone rang again. Dad this time. "Hello?" I answered, voice steadier than I felt. "Hannah." His voice was a strange mix of pride and desperation. "We need to talk about what happened. I think you made yourself pretty clear at dinner. Look, you need to grow up and learn family responsibility. Your brother is going through a tough time right now." I watched my reflection in the darkened window, a woman I barely recognized anymore. "So am I, Dad. So am I." What's that supposed to mean? You've got your fancy business, your apartment, all of which I built while supporting 3 additional adults. I'm tired, Dad. So that's it? You're just going to abandon your family when we need you? You didn't need me today. You needed my checkbook. He hung up without saying goodbye. Minutes later, the family group chat exploded. "Jake, way to kick us when we're down. Real class act, sis. Dad, after everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us? You OWW us." Mom sent crying emojis and guilt-tripping texts about possibly losing their house. The same house I owned. The same house they'd signed rental agreements for but conveniently forgot. With shaking hands but newfound clarity, I opened my laptop. The blue light illuminated my living room as I began systematically removing my financial support from their lives, canceling automatic payments, removing my name from accounts, and documenting every penny I'd provided. What my family never knew was that I'd kept meticulous records of everything, every payment, every loan, with documentation signed by my parents acknowledging these were loans, not gifts. The contract stated repayment would begin when Jake found stable employment, something that hadn't happened in 3 years. The family home they lived in? I'd actually purchased it 2 years ago when they faced foreclosure. The bank had called me directly after Dad missed 3 payments. Rather than let them lose everything, I bought the house with a formal rental agreement they'd signed but seemingly forgotten. Rent was symbolic, $100 a month they rarely paid. My brother's car? In my name, with insurance I paid monthly, with a contract stating terms of use. The utilities, the cell phones, the credit card Dad used for golf, all tied to accounts I controlled. Family doesn't keep score, Mom always said when I mentioned their mounting debt. But I'd learned that without boundaries, generosity becomes expectation, then entitlement. Around 10 p.m., my doorbell rang. My best friend Rachel stood there, holding takeout and wine. "You sounded terrible on the phone," she said, pushing past me. I brought reinforcements. We sat on my living room floor, spreading documents across the coffee table while I recounted the disaster of Thanksgiving dinner. "You've been their bank, not their daughter," Rachel said, examining a stack of payment receipts. "This is financial abuse, Hannah." "I was just trying to help." "Help is temporary. This is dependency." She gestured at the paperwork. "They've trapped you." The next morning, my business partner Marco called. "Hannah, we need to talk about the expansion budget," he said without preamble. "The developer team is waiting on your decision." I hesitated, thinking about Mom's texts about the mortgage. "Don't tell me you're still on the fence," Marco said, reading my silence. "Hannah, they're financially abusing you. Your company needs that capital to grow." "I know. Do they even appreciate what you've done?" The memory of Dad's face twisted in rage flashed before me. "No." "Then why keep enabling them?" My therapist had warned me months ago. "You're enabling destructive patterns. Real love includes boundaries." I'd nodded politely and continued paying their bills. Meanwhile, the family group chat escalated. "Dad, if you don't start acting like family again, I'm going to tell everyone what you've done." "Mom, my chest hurts from stress. If anything happens to me, it's on your conscience." Jake sent messages too crude to repeat, each one more hostile than the last. At midnight, after hours of organization and soul-searching, I sent one text to the group chat. "I've terminated all financial support, effective immediately. The documents explaining everything will arrive tomorrow. I suggest you start making alternative arrangements." Then I turned off my phone and slept better than I had in years. Morning came with a doorbell camera alert at 6 a.m. Dad was pounding on my door, red-faced and disheveled. Mom sat crying in the car, while Jake filmed on his phone, presumably collecting evidence of my cruelty. Rachel had stayed over, anticipating this reaction. She stood beside me as I opened the door calmly, holding a thick folder. "What is the meaning of this?" Dad demanded, trying to push past me into the apartment. I blocked his entry and handed him the folder. "Everything is explained here." He flipped through the documents, face changing as he saw mortgage documents showing I owned their house, bank records of $147,000 transferred to them over 3 years, signed loan agreements. "You can't be serious," he whispered. "You have 2 options," I explained, surprised by my own calm. "Start paying market rate rent and repaying loans on a schedule we establish, or I'll be forced to evict and pursue legal action." Dad's face crumpled as reality hit. "You can't do this to family." I met his eyes steadily. "Last night you made it clear I wasn't family. Just a checkbook." Jake stepped forward aggressively. "You think you're so smart, don't you? We'll see who's laughing when—" Rachel held up her phone. "I'm recording everything, and Hannah's security system captured your arrival. The police have been called." As if on cue, sirens approached in the distance. Dad's face drained of color. The officers arrived to find Dad screaming about his ungrateful daughter while I simply showed documentation of property ownership and financial records. "Sir," the officer said to my father, "this appears to be a civil matter, but you're currently trespassing on private property. I suggest you leave before this escalates further." "This is my daughter," Dad protested. "And this is her home," the officer replied firmly. "You need to leave now." I watched them drive away, Mom sobbing in the passenger seat, Jake glaring from the back. The folder of documents sat on the front seat between them, a bomb of reality about to detonate. In the weeks that followed, reality set in for my family. Jake finally got a job at a warehouse. My parents downsized to an apartment they could afford on Dad's pension and Mom's part-time work. The family home was sold, with proceeds covering their outstanding loans to me, the remainder placed in an account for their future needs. Christmas came and went, no cards, no calls. January brought snow, but no reconciliation. February, March, April, seasons changed, while the silence stretched between us. I focused on my business, hired the developers, expanded the office. Success felt hollow some days, sweet on others. Rachel checked in regularly. Marco celebrated our growing client list. Life continued. 6 months after Thanksgiving, my phone rang with Dad's number I almost didn't answer. "Hello?" I said finally. "Hannah." His voice sounded different, older, humbled. "Got a minute?" "I do." "I've been thinking a lot." A pause, the sound of him clearing his throat. "I never saw you, not really. Your success threatened me, made me feel like a failure. I'm sorry." The words hung between us, fragile as spider silk. "Thank you for saying that," I replied, surprised by the tears in my eyes. "Your mother and we're doing okay. Jake's still at the warehouse, got promoted last month." "That's good." "We miss you," he said quietly. Not your money, you. That conversation didn't fix everything, but it started something new, a relationship based on respect rather than financial dependence. We met for coffee the next week, just Dad and me, then lunch with Mom the week after. Small steps, careful words, no mentions of money. Family should lift you up, not drain you dry. Setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's necessary for genuine relationships. That Thanksgiving taught me that real love includes respect, gratitude, and mutual support, not exploitation disguised as family obligation. If you've ever had to prove your worth to those who doubted you, hit subscribe and share your story in the comments. You are not alone. Sometimes walking away isn't giving up, it's the first step toward building something healthier. Today, a year later, we're still rebuilding. Dad calls weekly to check in. Mom sends actual birthday cards, not just requests for cash. Jake and I exchange awkward but civil texts. We're not perfect, but we're real now. And that's worth more than any amount of money I ever spent on them.